Hi everyone, my name is Laurie and welcome along to another edition of DR Boxing Weekly, the show that covers all the relevant stories in boxing. Let me quickly introduce my two guests. Firstly, to my immediate left, we call him the voice of reason, Mr. Nick Francis in the house.
What's going on?
And to my right, we have in the house Mr. James Toon, very big friend of mine. Give him a round of applause.
Damn, I'm getting upgraded in the world. I actually have a friend.
That there is one person missing from our usual lineup, Shane Willoughby. He's not too well today. We give him our best wishes and hope he gets very well soon. Big up yourself, Shane. You're being missed, but we will crack on without you, I'm afraid. The big boxing news this week, it's being reported that after weeks of back and forth and procrastination, we're now learning that Dillian Whyte has now signed to fight AJ. We believe that fight will take place on Saturday, the 12th of August. And that is big news when you consider what's been going on in previous weeks. That fight will be a massive fight. I mean, for AJ, I think it's fair to say that it's be a precursor to his big fight in the Middle East coming up, which we expect to be against Deontay Wilder. But this is a big fight for Dillian Whyte also because he will want to gate cash proceedings. And also, I would hesitate to say that this is his last stab, isn't it, at the big time, would you say?
I think his last stab at the big time is possibly already done with that Tyson Fury performance. I mean, it's the worst performance we'd ever seen from Dillian Whyte. However, what we are banking on is that he has a genuine personal grudge against Anthony Joshua. There is genuine...
I think the beef is real.
There's genuine bad blood
Mexican
there.
beef.
And so, well, hopefully not. There's genuine bad blood there, so hopefully that pulls the best of Dillian Whyte out. And like you say, he will hope to gate crash and mess up people's plans. Even there's a bit of bad blood between Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearn, even though they do business together. So he will love the opportunity to just scupper any plans that whole camp has got.
And I think, let's be honest, Dillian's, he had that woeful night against Tyson Fury, which I don't know if he even landed a meaningful punch. And then he got knocked out by a punch that landed seemingly on the side of his face, which caused him to question his punch resistance. And then, following that awful showing, he had the showing against Jermaine Franklin, which I watched in its entirety. And I've got to say, man, I thought he lost that night. But anyway, whether he won or he lost, he got the decision in the end, but it wasn't a very good performance, distinctly underwhelming. So this is a massive fight for him against an opponent, like you say, that he's not too fond of. And they've got history. They've fought twice before. Once as a professional. Let me go back. They fought as a professional once back in 2015. AJ stopped him. I think it was 7 rounds.
Didn't just stop him, battered him. One of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen. The uppercut again, which seems to be his weakness, but
got laid out, man. But he did, to be fair to Dillian. If you go
he
back
put some resistance.
2009,
in the amateurs.
He beat AJ in the amateurs.
Well, that's where the storyline came, isn't it? That's why he was like the big rival to AJ, and he was always quite jealous of Anthony Joshua because he thought in his head he put in the hard yards before him. He thought, because he started kickboxing at a lot younger age than Anthony Joshua, and there was always a lot of bad blood there. He always thought Anthony Joshua was playing up to a persona, and that's why he was getting all these opportunities, and it wasn't actually him. And it was one of the few people that I've actually seen Anthony Joshua in his career. Now I've seen Tyson Fury and obviously Big Pharmacy Miller, as you like to call him, someone that actually rattled AJ, got him angry and got that ferocious side out of Anthony Joshua out. And I've always been wanting to see technically the trilogy match between the two of them.
Well, it's interesting you should say that because when this fight was announced, I did go online, as I tend to do, and I must say that the reaction was perhaps more mixed than I thought, given that a lot of people want to see the fight. I mean, everyone likes to see two big heavyweights, especially when there's a grudge match going on. But there was a significant minority who was saying, look, man, don't really care about this fight. I've seen it already. AJ whacked him.
Because of the timing. Because the timing in life is everything. You got to strike while the iron's hot. If this fight happened a couple of years ago, different story. If this fight happened when Anthony Joshua had all the belts, if it was Dillian Whyte getting his big title opportunity against Anthony Joshua instead of Tyson Fury, it would have been a blockbuster fight. But unfortunately, you're looking at And Anthony Joshua, who is coming off a really bad patch in his career. I mean, what was his last fight? It was in the O2 Arena, wasn't it? 20,000 people. This is not the Anthony Joshua that we know that's selling out stadium after stadium after stadium. He needs to rebuild himself to try and get back up to that world title level. You're looking at a Dillian Whyte who came off a questionable decision in his last fight and came off one of the worst knockout loss, or one of the worst performance losses he's had in his career against Tyson
I would say
Fury.
it was the worst performance.
His stock is at an all-time low. So people right now don't really care so much about Dillian Whyte. He's kind of like what Derek Chisora was a few years ago, where you'd put him in there. He's a big British name. He'll give you a good, exciting, entertaining fight. But he's not someone that you're really going to test someone against to get to the top level. And people are looking at this as Anthony Joshua's rise back to the title level. And unfortunately,
no
Dillian Whyte doesn't
for his
give
confidence, he definitely needs a big win. And there were a list of opponents they were considering. I mean, we had people like Ajit Kabayel, Otto Wallin, one or two others. Even Hughie Fury was putting his name out there. But it would appear that Dillian's
Didn't
got
Shane
the nod.
say he liked that fight? Wasn't that Shane's
Yeah,
choice?
I think it was Shane.
Yeah,
Like,
Shane, it was Shane's
But in
choice.
terms of, market
Fury said that
forces
one.
and ticket sales and stuff like that, Dillian does seem to make sense. Nick, what's
I
your
think-
views on the fight?
I think that's part of the problem. I'm not super mad at the fight, but I think because AJ commands a certain amount of revenue and a certain commercial value, I think the problem that most people have with the fight that I've spoken to is just that it was a bit predictable. Of all the names that you listed, what we're looking for AJ is someone who's got to be a test, and is that gap between.
Do they really want a test though?
But they want
How much of a test
they
do
want
they
a
want?
perceived test, because they want to at least prepare him for the big fights that are coming up. So
and they want to give him some confidence.
and they want to give him some confidence. So they need someone beatable, but they need someone that, while beatable, is known and ideally is British and different things like that. So I just think it's a bit predictable and a bit uninspiring. But that might be what AJ needs for right now, because I'm well documented on this channel with saying that I don't think that he will win a world title off of Usyk or Fury ever in his career.
What about Wilder though? I mean, it looks like it's going to be Wilder.
Wilder won't have a belt, but I don't know who wins that fight. That's more of a 50-50 fight. But even still, this Anthony Joshua, I think, gets cleaned out by Wilder. I think Wilder is mentally more astute than this AJ. Although they're both similarly mentally fragile when things don't go their way.
I don't know. I'd say for me.
We've
Wilder
seen
has shown
Wilder
more
break down.
fragility outside of the ring in terms of his excuses and the things that I would never see Anthony Joshua do. But inside of the ring, you could argue that he showed more determination to stay in there.
But I understand what you're saying, but I would challenge that, because after AJ lost to Ruiz, he didn't give an excuse. You're right, but he kept alluding to excuses, but they're not saying it. He kept saying,
boxers do that though.
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm not going to make any excuses,
but
my ankle was kind of hurting.
That's it. With Deontay Wilder, we've seen him break down, but that was one time. We've seen AJ break down multiple times now.
But do you see
All right,
this
let's
as...
go back to that, because I know we're digressing.
No, I'm talking about this fight, and I want to ask you a
let's
question. Does
stick
this
on the
get
Dillian
him?
and
No,
AJ,
I'm talking about Dillian Whyte. I'm saying, does this get you ready for Wilder in any way, or is this a regression fight? Because obviously AJ just cleaned Jermaine Franklin out. Yeah, I know he didn't knock him out.
He didn't clean him out.
No. Was there ever a single moment in that fight that you thought Jermaine Franklin was going to win the fight? No, he was outclassed in every single department. AJ, we wanted him to knock him out. No, we wanted AJ to knock him out.
I would hesitate to use the word outclass. He did win pretty much every round. I'll give you that.
Well, then that's an outclass.
No, but hold on. But there wasn't much classy stuff going on.
It doesn't need to be classy.
It's back to Shane's argument. It's back to Shane's argument that we had on Saturday of, he dominated the fight, but he did exactly what you expected him to do against the level of opponent that he had.
Exactly.
So
hang on. I would go as far as to say he didn't though. He won the rounds, but I expected more.
Yeah,
and so did most people.
Franklin was more competitive than we expected.
We did, but the point is...
And that's why I'm saying I'm contesting what you're saying.
No, but you're building more into my point.
Let me finish my point.
Okay.
I don't think you can look at that performance and say he outclassed Franklin. He didn't. He won, and he won comfortably.
So you expected AJ to do more?
Yes, a lot more.
Okay, so AJ not performing at his best and not doing as much as you thought he should have, still won every single round, in your words, against Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah, because he wasn't even a professional like 3 years ago.
Exactly my point. So he outclassed him because he wasn't at his best, and he still dominated the fight. My point is, when he fought Dillian Whyte just before that, Dillian Whyte won a very controversial decision. A lot of people, you in the past yourself, have stated that you thought Jermaine Franklin won that fight.
Yeah, I did.
I would argue that as well. So if you're going against a guy who arguably lost to the guy that you just outclassed convincingly in the previous fight, how is that going to get you ready for future fights? Or is that a regression?
Nick said you're simping. I would simply use another S word. I think you're using semantics. I wouldn't say that he outclassed Franklin. What I would say is that he won and he won well. However, he did not look impressive. Then you put on top of that the two underwhelming performances against Usyk. Okay, the second time around against Usyk, he did a bit better, but he was well beaten in both those fights. So his star has dropped somewhat.
Yeah.
So he needs a fight now, especially with the fight on the horizon against Wilder. He needs, let's be honest, he needs a KO to put his name back up there in those lights.
And
that he
to
was enjoying. And Dillian Whyte, I think the purpose of Dillian being brought in is just that.
Yeah.
He's the perfect opponent. I mean, let's face it, he's beaten him before, right? They put him in there again against, let's face it, since 2015, Dillian has gone up and he's on the other side of the precipice now.
Yeah.
He should win again and he should win comfortably. Nick?
But to answer your point directly, James, of does this prepare him for Wilder? No, but anybody that does prepare him for Wilder, they wouldn't put him in with because he'll probably lose. The only reason that he's going to take that Wilder fight is because he's next world champion and they're all dancing around the world title contention and he's a big name for the money.
I still think he's amongst the best heavyweights in the world.
Who?
AJ.
Define amongst. Top 5?
Top
10?
5?
I still think the top four is Fury, Usyk,
despite what
Wilder,
I've said,
AJ.
despite what I've said on this show previously, and this is why, you know, I mean, people will have a go at me and say, but I do like to keep it consistent. For me, Fury 1, Usyk 2. Then you could have Wilder 3 and AJ 4, or you could reverse those two.
I think
AJ
there's a large gap between the top 2 and the rest, which is why it's so difficult.
But I
to call.
also think there's a large gap between the third and fourth and the rest. I think AJ
You could
and
be
Wilder
right, yeah.
are on a different level to everyone else.
But he's definitely in the top heavyweights. And let's not forget, he's working with a new trainer now. Hopefully he's working on new things. He's in a brand new stable.
We've heard this before.
No, but he's working with Derek James, who a lot of people say is the best trainer in the world right now. On current form and current fighters, a lot of people.
Well, on AJ's current form, it looks like he's training with Daniel James, not Derek James. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this is going to change. I think.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But you know, he's training with the likes of Jamel Charlo, who's going to be fighting Canelo, Errol Spence, Frank Martin, a highly touted lightweight, Ryan Garcia, your boy. He's gone over to Derek James. So the talent pool there is deep. He can only get better, I would have thought, by training amongst guys like that, sparring.
But has he left
picking up
it
certain things
on that stuff? Has he left it too late?
No, because heavyweights mature later.
I understand, but we've been saying that AJ is one-dimensional, a little bit robotic.
You said that.
A lot of fans have been saying that AJ is very robotic, very stiff, very, very muscular, but needs to lean down and be a little bit more versatile. People have been saying that for about a decade, and he's only doing it now. He's only doing it now, really. It seems like almost out of desperation, because whatever he was doing before just could not get close to Usyk.
My view is, I don't know what James thinks. I think that the going over to America and working with a new trainer at this stage in his career is absolutely the right thing for him to do.
Yeah.
He's done the England thing.
Like he should have done it earlier.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, he was with Tony Sims prior to that as well. Those guys have brought him along to where he is now. I think he needs a change in direction. He's done that, and I think that will work well for him.
I think he's jumped through quite a few coaches. He's been around America doing a world tour basically the past couple of years. So
well, he will tell you that he's arrived at a trainer that he feels comfortable with.
Well, hopefully that is the case. Hopefully it's like JD Sport. Hopefully it fits like a glove with him. But the only problem I have with you talking about the way you were talking about him losing weight and that having an effect. I mean, he did that a little bit earlier. He's done that a couple of years ago. He started to lean down because everyone said that. He obviously did that with the second Ruiz fight.
Only after he lost, though.
But he did that against Usyk as well in the first fight. He tried to lean down and he tried to outbox the boxer. That's not his style. With everyone telling him to do these things that are against his nature, sometimes you can outcoach or outtrain something that makes someone so magical. You can out-train their attributes and try to turn them into someone else. Kind of like with Roy Jones and Chris Eubank Jr. You know, you're trying to teach someone to fight as you fought, but it's not going to work. Anthony Joshua needs to utilize his strength, utilize his power, which is phenomenal. It might not be one-punch knockout power that Wilder has, but he still has phenomenal power, and he brought himself up on his combination punches, but for some reason he's leaned down and he's been throwing less combinations.
You know, everything you said there is pretty much spot on, but it's interesting that last weekend I watched Jared Big Baby Anderson, is supposed to be the next big coming, and he took on Charles Martin, as we know, and he looked, let's be honest, pretty unimpressive against an opponent, dare I say, that AJ took out in 2 rounds. When he won the title, and he looked devastated.
And a lot younger when he took that fight as well.
He did, and a lot of people at the time were saying, Charles Martin, rubbish, this, that, and the other. Now we're seeing Charles Martin take Jared Anderson the distance and hurt him a few times in that fight.
Frank Warren actually said it was a bribed
fight. By
AJ
all those years ago, that win over time is looking better and better. Listen,
I mean, to be fair, that Charles Martin has probably got better since then, because he had a vacant belt. He didn't beat a champion for a belt at that time, right? So,
no, he did. He beat Glaskov.
Okay, I thought it was a vacant belt.
Does he get better at taking bigger shots throughout his career like that, or does his punch?
No, I'm just making the point that at the time and since then, a lot of people have kind of looked down on that win by AJ over Charles Martin.
Yeah.
But when you saw Charles Martin posed so many problems last week for Jared Anderson, you think to yourself, well, actually, that was one of AJ's better wins.
I was agreeing with you.
But listen, this fight, I mean, is it a knockover job for AJ to boost his confidence after those losses to Usyk and the underwhelming performance he had against Jermaine Franklin, or do you think that there is a window of opportunity there for Dillian to win? James?
I think it needs to be a knockover job. The whole point of this fight has to be...
No, but do you give Dillian any chance?
Jermaine Franklin was the knockover job. He failed to knock over Jermaine Franklin. Now you're going against a guy who's easier to knock out than Jermaine Franklin and arguably got beaten by Jermaine Franklin. If he doesn't knock Dillian Whyte out, then there is serious problems. I don't give Dillian a lot of chance in this fight.
Even
and
with
that's
that
not
big
to
left
disrespect...
hook. Dillian does have that big left hook.
It's not to disrespect Dillian Whyte, but seeing his performances over the past couple of fights, they've been uninspiring, and they seem to me of a guy who's kind of reached the pinnacle of his career. He's reached his ceiling, and he's kind of dipping down. Now, whether the bad blood of Anthony Joshua and that last hurrah is enough to bring some sort of magical performance out of him, I don't know. But for me, Anthony Joshua has all the size. He has all the physical attributes. He has the skill attributes on him. He's quicker. He's got better footwork, in my opinion. If he doesn't clean out and do a job on Dillian Whyte, not to disrespect Dillian Whyte again, because first of all, he's a scary guy. I stood next to his brother. He could kill me with one punch, no doubt about it. But Anthony Joshua, for me, if he doesn't do it, it probably is curtains for him in terms of getting
Question
a world
for
title.
Nick. Is Dillian shot? This is 401k. Is he looking for a payday? What? Does he have a window of opportunity in which to win?
Yes to everything that you just said, which is what makes the fight intriguing. Is Dillian shot? Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? I'm a fellow...
His punch resistance...
I'm a fellow South London Jamaican, so Dillian's my guy. But boy, Dillian, he's not the guy he once was. Do you know what I'm saying? However...
He still has a big left hook.
He's still got a big left hook. He's still got a bit of a spiteful streak. I think that's what let us down the most about the Fury performance. And I do think that they... I'll cut him some slack that they let him stew for a really long time. He'd had so much momentum, and the spark had died out. Maybe it was a timing issue because he'd just been waiting for so long.
It's interesting. If I could just say, we spoke about AJ having a new trainer. It would be remiss of me not to mention that Dillian also has a new trainer. He's been working with Buddy McGirt. Yeah. So when he had that performance, lack thereof, against Tyson Fury, he was working with a guy from North London. I forget his name now.
James Toon?
Yeah. No. Forget his name. Xavier, that's it.
Yeah.
He's now being trained by Buddy McGirt, who is, let's face it, a very, very good trainer, very well known. Could that bring the best out of Dillian for this fight? He might have that one good night still left in him.
No, I'm gonna say no. I just... the thing is with AJ, both these guys, I think, are shot personally. Even if AJ is still the top 5, I still think it's a shot version of AJ because what I mean by that is if what makes this fight intriguing, whether you like the fight or not, and it's a bit uninspiring and predictable in terms of they were going to make this fight, but it's not predictable for how it's going to go, because AJ could be hitting him with combinations and dancing around him, and one left hook from Dillian Whyte can massively, and we know AJ,
but that's what makes the fight intriguing.
and that's what makes the fight intriguing. And we know with AJ, once he's hurt, he's not the best at surviving. That's probably the weakest part of his game, is that survival part. And peak Dillian Whyte did have a great killer instinct. So, I don't know, it's going to be intriguing. But like James said, if AJ is going to have any hope of Fury, Wilder, especially Wilder, because he's a knockout puncher, single knockout puncher, he needs to be walking through Dillian Whyte. If he can't walk through Dillian Whyte, somebody that had a controversial win against Franklin, then you just got to be looking at Wilder's got to be licking his lips. 100%.
Are you looking forward to the fight?
I think it's going to be such a great. The thing is, it's going to be storylines and narratives, no matter what happens. So 100%. And obviously, listen, 2015, we're all there. We're all tuning in. We all remember that night. We all remember the bad blood. We all remember AJ sticking his tongue out and getting spiteful.
Were you looking forward to the fight?
See, I'm loving it. I can see the gloves are off already. I can envision it, but I just don't know. I don't know if Dillian Whyte, because of the fact that he's coming off I know it wasn't a loss, but two controversial,
uninspiring
losses, two uninspiring performances. If he's still gonna have that confidence to try and rattle AJ, to try and bite at him. When I saw him in all the Fury press conferences, he seemed subdued. He seemed too friendly for me, too nice.
But I think his energy will change with the AJ.
I hope so. I hope we get what we expect, which is just fireworks and hatred and bad blood. And if that is what we get, then the build-up will be phenomenal. The fight, hopefully, will be absolute fireworks in there. And I want to see an absolute brawl like in the first fight where the bell's gone and they're still trying to get each other, scrap in between rounds. Hopefully, that's what we get. But my only fear is just that because Whyte is coming near to the end of his career, maybe he's calming down as a person, maybe he's settling down, he's becoming more comfortable within himself, and he might not have that same fury or venom.
Okay, I'll take it home from here. Listen, will be looking forward to this fight for a number of reasons. It's a big heavyweight clash. We all love, as boxing fans, even casual fans, they always love two big heavyweights. Then you've got the dynamic that the two don't like each other, especially Dillian can't stand AJ. That is very clear. And I think that Dillian, both of them are at the stages of their career where they badly need a win. I would argue more so for Dillian, because Dillian's career does seem to be, certainly in its twilight, some people would say he's shot and using other terms to describe it, but he needs a win. And at the very least, he needs a big performance. And I think he'll be looking at this night here and saying, I'm going to give it everything. I'm going to put it all on the line one night, go out there, give it my best shot. I don't mean he's going to go out there and recklessly start throwing big shots and then get countered and caught and put out in the first couple of rounds. But you know what I'm saying? He's going to whip himself into great shape, him and his coach, Buddy McGirt. He's going to have his mind right. He's going to say to himself, this is my world title shot. He's going to lay it on the line. And I'm not going to give a prediction, but I do think it's going to be a great fight. So, yes, I am looking forward to it.
Sorry to interrupt, but if he goes the distance with AJ, if he takes him all 12 rounds and he puts in, a decent performance, maybe nicks 3 or 4 of those rounds, is that overall a good performance for Dillian Whyte going forward in his career?
I think it keeps his career alive.
What, just going the distance with AJ?
Well, depending on the nature of the fight. If it's a good fight, I think he keeps his career alive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anything less than that, if he gets bombed out.
So a victory
it's kind of
is
last
more
chance
imperative
saloon for
AJ.
both of them, to be fair, because if AJ gets banged out in the 4th round by Dillian, where does he go?
Yeah,
and if
he has an unconvincing rounds victory against Dillian Whyte, where does he go?
No, if he has an unconvincing win, a win is a win.
Yeah. He doesn't have to. It's what we said last week. He doesn't have to knock him out. A knockout is a bonus.
Eddie Hearn are very good at making excuses, and they'll say, "Oh, this happened, that happened. Didn't have a great camp."
Dillian's a top heavyweight, and they'll start doing all that.
Yeah.
But really, whichever one of these guys gets banged out, they're getting banged into retirement pretty much. Because
I'm not so sure about AJ,
and maybe not retirement for AJ.
He's got
okay, all right.
But you know what? The more we talk about it, the more I see where this fight is going to do big numbers, because a lot of people
it's going to do huge
interested.
numbers.
It's definitely the biggest heavyweight fight in this country of this year, isn't it?
Of this year, yeah.
Yeah,
We haven't had any other big heavyweights.
Exactly,
since-
yeah.
Oh, Joe Joyce Zhang, does that count in this country?
Yeah, that does. Yeah,
I still think this is bigger than
I
that.
think this is a
This
bigger
is- this-
fight.
Because of one man, because of Anthony Joshua. Look, whenever Anthony Joshua fights, unless if it's Tyson Fury, there is no bigger fight in this
And
country.
you'd have to
or
say that
arguably the
Dillian
world.
Whyte, for AJ, certainly at this stage of his career, is the perfect dance partner.
Yeah. Do we know what stadium it's going to be in? Should be a 60,000 seat, you'd expect.
No, I'm
right?
not sure if we'll get that. Certainly the
Yeah,
OT sellout.
for AJ Dillian Whyte, if we don't get at least 60,000 seats sold,
Well, I
think
mean,
that's a
that
big
will tell
problem.
us how much both of their stock has
Yeah.
dropped.
I disagree with you on that for two reasons. First, August the 12th, isn't that the start of the football season? So the Premier League rounds won't be available.
Wembley.
I
Tottenham
don't
Hotspur.
think that sells out Wembley, to be honest.
No belts.
But Anthony Joshua a few years ago could have fought a broomstick
years
and he
ago.
would have sold out.
He had
Wembley.
the belts. He was heavyweight champion.
This is very
He was
much
world
his
heavyweight champion.
rehabilitation.
Yeah, but Usyk has the belts and he'd probably be a couple.
No, but it's all. You come on, you're being
silly.
silly now. We know Usyk doesn't have the commercial appeal of Anthony Joshua. I'm
Yeah.
saying it was the storm of Anthony Joshua, the commercial appeal of the brand, and having
Yeah.
the belts as well. Come on.
No,
Okay,
I know what you're
guys,
saying.
we're going to have to wind it up there. It's been an interesting debate. What do you guys think? Is this a massive fight? Is this a crossroads fight? Are you interested in it? Or are you like some people think, oh, it's a bit of a damp squib. I'm not really that interested. I just want to see AJ go in and fight Wilder. Is, like what we are saying, Dillian probably the best opponent in terms of, for AJ's career, not just that, for the marketability, is Dillian Whyte the best opponent for him right now? I probably think he is. So you let us know what you guys think. That's it for this show. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification for more content from DR Boxing and DR Sports. We are out. We'll see you soon. Take care.